There are some moments in sport that are just so infamous, they completely transcend the game. They become these international incidents, and they spark debates that honestly go on for decades. Today, we're diving deep into one of those moments in cricket. We're talking about a single, controversial ball that didn't just tarnish a victory, it actually changed the rules of the game forever.
Wow, okay, so that wasn't a rival player or a journalist or a commentator. That was the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I mean, his words just perfectly captured the raw, the immediate, and yeah, the political fury that exploded from this one single moment on a cricket pitch. The stakes really could not have been higher.
So, what on earth led to this level of outrage? To really get it, to understand the fury, we have to go back to the absolute pressure cooker of that final, fateful ball.
All right, so picture this. The scene is the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's February 1st, 1981. This is it, the deciding third final of the World Series Cup. And it's between two fierce rivals, Australia and New Zealand. The series is tied 1-1. Winner takes the whole thing.
So, after this long, grueling match, the entire series, everything, comes down to a single delivery. New Zealand needs a six, the biggest hit you can get in cricket, off the very last ball. And that's just to tie the game. A win for Australia was almost a sure thing, but that tiny, tiny sliver of doubt, well, it was about to lead to one of the most infamous decisions in sports history. To snuff out even that tiny chance, the Australian captain, Greg Chappell, made a call that would echo through the ages. He ordered his bowler, who happened to be his own younger brother, Trevor, to roll the ball along the ground, an underarm bowl. This simple little act made it physically impossible for the batsman to get under the ball to hit it for a six. Game over. The batsman, a guy named Brian McKechnie, what could he do? He could only just defensively block this little grubber ball. And then he just threw his bat to the ground in this moment of pure, completely understandable disgust. Australia had won the match, but the feeling on the field was anything but celebratory. And the condemnation was instant. Those words came from Richie Benaud, the absolute voice of cricket. For him to deliver that kind of takedown live on the air was just monumental. It was a signal that this wasn't just some questionable tactic. No, this was a moment of shame for the entire sport. But here's the thing, this wasn't just about winning a cricket match. To really get to the why behind this infamous act, we have to look at the man who made the call, a captain who was at his absolute breaking point. So you have to ask, right? Why would a respected captain, a great of the game, resort to something like that? Well, Greg Chappell later revealed that the underarm bowl wasn't some strategic masterstroke. It was more like a desperate cry for help. In his own words, Chappell was just completely burned out. He described being so strung out, so exhausted from the relentless pressure of captaining Australia that he felt he simply wasn't fit to be leading the team on that day. And it wasn't just a personal pressure either. Chappell was also incredibly frustrated with the people running cricket at the time. He felt like his constant complaints about the subpar playing conditions at the MCG were just being completely ignored. So as that final ball was about to be bowled, you can almost imagine the gears turning. He saw a moment. He later framed the decision as this spur-of-the-moment protest, a desperate, very public act to make the administrators finally pay attention. He wasn't just winning a game. In his mind, he was sending a message.
Well, that message was definitely received, but the consequences were immediate, they were far-reaching, and they were damaging for pretty much everyone involved.
The weight of what had just happened, it sunk in right away. Chappell himself said that after the win, the Australian dressing room was dead silent. His own teammates, just shocked by what they'd seen, didn't know what to say. But the public backlash, that was even faster and way more personal. Chappell remembers this gut-wrenching moment walking off the field when a young fan ran up to him, tugged on his sleeve, and just said two words that probably hit harder than any official punishment could. You cheated. The person who's often forgotten in all this, the real casualty in a way, was Trevor Chappell. I mean, what an impossible situation. He was ordered by his captain, who was also his older brother, to do something he really didn't want to do. He followed orders, but he's been unfairly tied to that controversy ever since, and it cast this long shadow over his whole career. The official response, though, was decisive. The International Cricket Council acted fast. They promptly changed the laws of the game, banning underarm bowling in this format of cricket.
They basically made sure that this specific act, this loophole, could never, ever be exploited again.
And that rule change, that really gets to the heart of why we're still talking about this incident today. It created this huge firestorm around the whole idea of the spirit of the game.
This right here, this illustrates the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the law. And at that exact moment, the underarm delivery was technically legal. It wasn't against any written rule. But on the other side, you have the spirit. And it was seen by almost everyone as just this cynical, unsporting act that completely violated the unwritten code of fair play.
This Venn diagram nails it, doesn't it? Law and ethics are not the same thing. There's this space where an action can be perfectly legal and yet at the same time be profoundly unethical. The underarm bowl landed smack dab in the middle of that zone.
What's really interesting is that, unlike a lot of other sports, cricket actually formalizes this idea. The preamble to the official laws is literally called the spirit of cricket. It's a reminder that the game is about more than just a set of rules. It's about a code of conduct, about respect, and about fairness. Greg Chappell broke the code, not the law.
And so that leaves us with the big question that this whole incident forced upon the entire sporting world. We all want to win, right? But how far is too far? At what point does a clever strategy to secure a victory cross the line and become a betrayal of what sport is supposed to be all about?